Hi quilters, I'm Shelley Robson from the Quilted Forest, and it's October, which means it's time to pick our next project of the month. For September, we picked project number 11, and I got to work on it a little bit at quilt camp. I found a few moments of time in between helping everybody to get some work done on my project. My project was working on some quilt blocks that I had made last year for our block of the month. I had put together some blocks to show people what it would look like when you put more than 2 or 3 together at a time. And I thought this would be a fun quilt in purples, so that was kind of how I imagined it. And first I'm going to show you the block, and this was the block in the block of the month. Now this block is made from just 2 different pieces. You've got half square triangle units and 4-patch units. So here we've got all the 4-patch units and the half square triangle units. They're made from the same fabrics, but this would be great as a scrappy quilt too. So my idea for the purple quilt was to do scrappy blocks. So I have some blocks where I have used the same fabrics in all the different half square triangles, and then I have some blocks where I've used different fabrics. Now these have all the same 4-patch units, but I also have some where they're different from each other. And this is the finished quilt. I think it turned out fantastic. I'm very happy with the result. It was a lot of fun. I used up, so what I did right before quilt camp was I took this bag and I put in the blocks that I had. I put in some purple and white yardage from my stash. I found strips that were already cut in the color purple, and I found some background strips too, so I could use up some of those strips from my stash. And then when I got to camp, I just kind of spread it out. I made a bunch of the 4-patch units first, and then I had a lot left over at the end when I decided I kind of wanted to make this just a lap size. So I added 4 patches to the bottom and top, and then separated it from the quilt blocks with just a band of purple fabric. I had cut that purple fabric for something else, for a binding, and I had made way too much, so it worked perfect in this project. The binding is just leftover purple strips. So all the way around, it's just all the little pieces sewn together and then made into the binding for this quilt. So all sorts of different purples. At the end of camp, I got a backing made for it. Had a sail fabric that I thought was perfect because it had a little bit of both of those different colors of purple on it. Looked good with the binding. I got the backing ready, the quilt top was ready, and then I also got the binding ready and put everything back into the bag. And the only things I had left over when I got done making the quilt were this many 4-patch blocks. That was all that was left over. And then these were pieces when I made the 4-patch blocks out of the strip sets. These were little extra pieces I had left over. So I sewed them all together, and I'm going to put all of this into my extra block bucket. And I have a bucket upstairs in my office that I just put leftover blocks from things that I didn't use. Like if I made 21 blocks, I only needed 20. The 21st block goes in my extra bucket. Someday I'll take that extra bucket out and have a lot of fun making a totally scrappy and crazy quilt. The other thing that I had left over were some purple strips. And instead of throwing them back in the bucket, I sewed them end to end and put them on a spool so that I have a start on my next jelly roll race quilt, or if I want to use it for some other project, it's ready to go. Looks a lot neater than a pile of scraps kind of all thrown together, and it'll look nice on a shelf too. The pattern I used for this was block 6 from our 2022 block of the month. The video is still available on our YouTube channel, and we'll put the link in the description below so you can find it. And also the pattern is on our Facebook group in the files section, and you can print one to make the block. It's called Sunny Lane, and it's a great block to make for scrappy quilts. So consider joining our Facebook group called the Quilted Forest Friends. Now it's time to pick the project for October. So we have 3 projects left, October, November, December. So 3 numbers, 8, 10, and 12 are going into our bucket. And for October, we are going to work on project number 8. So what is my project number 8? Oh, it's a good one for me. I have been wanting to work on this one. So this is when I started. It's one of my patterns. It's called 7/8. And I got about halfway through the project and just kind of abandoned it. So I've got all the blocks ready to go, ready to cut apart and remake into new blocks. So you will see this next month in quilt form. Kind of looking forward to working on that. I've got a few blocks left to make, and then all my extra bits are in there, so hopefully it'll go fast. So we will see you next month. Thanks for watching and happy quilting.